That coffee is strong. All right, I feel a little jittery, so I'm gonna do a little something to calm myself down.
This guy get it?
David. Glad you're in the front row. This is David, our Colombian boa constrictor. He's my baby. He helps me relax. We're gonna. Well, first of all, hi. I'm Ricky Muller. We're with Once in a While. We are an educational program that brings STEM and the zoo to you. So, just to talk a little bit about ourselves and our mission. Okay, this guy's good to go. We got started about 5 years ago with one mission in hand, which is to inspire kids and families to make a difference through live animal experiences. What does that mean? Well, that means that San Antonio has a lot of animals that are not well taken care of. That's why, I don't know if you guys know, but Beto is running on a really cool 2-10 program. One of them is to help animal care services and education. The other one is to create new jobs. San Antonio has always been known for a lot of tech jobs. So you have a lot of companies that do cyber security. There's a lot of companies that do engineering, computer software. But now we're starting to get into biotechnology. There's a lot of bio companies, like Velocity Texas is starting to see a lot of companies come to San Antonio. So we're gonna need that job force. So what do? We inspire others, right? So one of the things that, the way that we do it is we go to schools, we go to birthday parties, we go to events, and we bring animals. Everybody in our team is a zoologist, a biologist, and entomologist. And this all kind of started 5 years ago. This is my wife. She was supposed to be here and bring a really cool owl. Unfortunately, she's kind of sick, so she didn't make it. But let me tell a little bit about her. She is my inspiration. When before meeting her, I had never even had a pet, not even a little dog. I met my wife and she was working at Texas State Aquarium. After that, she's worked at Dallas Zoo, San Antonio Zoo, SeaWorld. She's got over 25 years of experience working with animals. So she's worked with dolphins and kangaroos and flamingos and all these really cool, amazing animals. That big giant alligator looks really dangerous, but it's not. And so we got inspired because I noticed that a lot of the problems that come, right, with animal care services, we used to rescue a lot of animals. All of these animals, usually it comes because of poor education. People don't know how to train their animals, how to take care of them. And so once they become a problem, instead of, hey, let me work with a rescue, a lot of people just let them go into the wild. What happens is those become invasive species, they end up hurting, so that's why we end up euthanizing a lot of animals. And so one of the things that we started doing is, as we were going, is rescuing a lot of animals. And once we have, right now we have over 100 different animals that we take to different schools and events. But at the time, myself, so a little bit about myself, my background is in marketing. I used to do advertising for Publicis, Ogilvy, and worked with everything from NBA, Denny's, Pepsi Cola, Frito-Lay, all these really big companies. A lot of my work was advertising and creative branding work, but also a lot of experiential and activations. For those who don't know marketing, an activation or experiential work is when you have a brand and you show up to an event, like you see a really cool photo booth with Capital One on it, and you take a photo and you give them your email. That's an activation, right? Now I have your information, I can start sending you marketing, right? So that was my job. So what I realized as I was putting together these presentations or these exhibits is that we would do what are the most Instagrammable moments? What are the most shareable moments when we put out these $1 million, $2 million events? Well, they would spend, Capital One would put together a really cool VR set with all these AR elements on it and spend $1 million on this project, and it wasn't even the top 10 most popular thing they would have. The number 2 most popular thing they would have was cute animals. Anything with animals, people love sharing that. They love coming, it's therapeutic, they would take photos. They would love to be in front of people and get to learn about it. So one of the things that we started noticing is that as we were rescuing these animals, we started getting invited to come to schools, to do virtual programs, because we opened during COVID, which was really tough. So we started going virtual, and we started doing virtual programs for schools teaching biology. So one of the things that we started doing was that. Then we started working with event planners and DMC companies. So for those who don't know what a DMC company, that means Destination Management Company. What they do is they put together those big conventions for doctors, for schools, for all these big projects. And so they need activation. So that was another one. Then we also work with parents, homeschoolers. We also work with all animal lovers. We do a lot of work with senior homes and with special needs kids, because not everybody can go to the zoo. A lot of people are bedridden. Some kids have sensory issues, so going to a very big public place with lots of noises is not the best. So they want a private event where I can have that therapeutic. And we've seen some amazing things happen, like we go to senior homes, people with dementia all of a sudden start remembering. Oh, remember when we had this rabbit and I was it's like, Grandma remembers, oh, this is awesome. Little kids that are nonverbal all of a sudden starts talking. Kids that have motor skill problems all of a sudden calm down. So we see a lot of therapeutic aspects to it. And a big part of what we do also is corporate. So we work with companies like CPS and Valero. We go to their events, we do activations, but we also do a lot of team building activities. So as we were putting together, we noticed that we definitely do have competition, right? There's the zoo, there's SeaWorld, there's all these big places. And those are great, but I can't always take a 3-hour trip, make it a day, go to the zoo. I can't, if I'm a teacher and I have first graders, taking the kids to the zoo can be a pain because I have to rent buses. Each bus is gonna cost me about $1,000 to charter. Then I have to, even if I'm a Title I school and I don't have to pay the entrance, I still have lunches and I have parents that have to come with me. And then little kids have disabilities and sometimes they have ADD. They're gonna run out, there's predators out there, it could be very dangerous. So what we do is we bring the zoo to them. They don't have to worry about anything. We come in, we clean up. All they have to do is enjoy the animals. And most of all, we also, because we work with the schools, we created a program from teachers to teachers to teach them biology, STEM, all these amazing classes that they need interaction with, because sitting down in a biology class and just seeing a video or hearing about it can be not very entertaining. But once you put the animals in front of you, once you see the animals and you get to hold, that's when kids get inspired. And most of these kids go out to study biology, which usually takes them into the realm of biotechnology, right? Because they're learning adaptation. And adaptations usually go with STEM research and genetics, right? So a lot of these kids end up being doctors and scientists. So that is where we show the most value. Now the benefits, all like I said, alternative to field trips. We bring brand awareness to some stores, so we work with like the Twig, and we work with the Museum, we work with Morgan's Wonderland, because they know that if we're there, we're gonna attract people, right? So we do good for business. We're at different toy stores and bookstores. Then we also do, like I said, therapy. Right now we have over 100 different animals that we bring, so we have a little bit of everything. So that is the difference between us and a regular petting zoo, right? Because you can hire animals to come to your school, but you're not gonna have the education, you're not gonna have the program, and most of all, you're not gonna have the variety. Because we really focus on the class and the experience, not the animal, right? So it doesn't matter if I have a tiger, if they're not gonna learn something. That could be very dangerous too. So we specifically train the animals, and we specifically have animals that even little kids can hold. right? Like our snake today may look really dangerous, but he's a sweetheart. He's like the sweetest animal ever. So when we bring him over, the kids get to learn about, hey, we're gonna learn about amphibians. Okay, cool. We're gonna learn about insects. We're gonna learn about mammals. Or we can come up with different career option classes. So we have right now over 12 different courses that we apply and we take to schools. Now here's the variety of the animals that we have. Most of these animals are rescues. So we rescue them from different places and we make sure that these animals are in great health. So our USDA license has an A+. We always do really well as far as our husbandry and our cleaning, and most of all our training, right? Because if the animals aren't well trained and aren't well taken care of, you can tell right away by the way they interact with you. And since they're going to be interacting with little kids, we have to make sure they're in the best care ever. And like I said, we have a little bit of different types of animals, like cute and fuzzy. We also have a little bit more exotic. And then we have obviously the creepy crawlies. And I know that everybody's like, creepy crawlies, I don't like them. But one of our big policies in every event that we do is called the no-nope. So that means anybody that shows up to our events cannot say anything negative about our animals. What that does is, as a parent, if you're next to your kid and you say, ooh, gross, immediately they're gonna think that animal is gross, which is not true. And most of our animals are not dangerous. So what you wanna do is have them be curious, get them excited about it. And so once they get excited, they feel a passion for it. That passion can turn into a career. That passion can turn into the next person, that next, what do you call it, Coyote Peterson, that next Steve Irwin, right? We need more scientists. So that's a big part of the love for animals. We want everybody to love all the different types of animals. So what is the experience like, right? Because everybody knows what it's like to go to the zoo, and everybody knows what a petting zoo is like. So we, as an experiential person, our job was to create a completely different experience. Something that you cannot see at the zoo, something that you can't see anywhere else. So the first thing that we came up with is an after-school program called the Zoo Club, right? And this is super popular right now. Right now we have a contract with 5 schools, and next year we just won a contract for 139 schools. So we are growing real fast. So the first thing about these zoo clubs is after-school programs, and especially for schools, the hardest part is how do we pay for this program? Because if they don't have grants and they don't have funding from the government, they have to come up with money from the PTA or from other programs. So the beauty about this program is that it's paid by the parents, right? And the school gets a cut. So they're making money by hiring us. So what is really cool about these zoo clubs is that instead of a kid after school taking a robotics class or a STEM class, this is a biology class with real animals. So every class they get to see between 3 to 5 different animals for a 10-week period. Right? And it's about $250. So the kids get not only to become a part of a club where everybody loves animals, but they get to learn a lot of STEM programs, things that they were already supposed to be learning in their curriculum. So this helps the teachers, and it's like extra inspiration. The second thing we do is a fun petting zoo, right? But what we wanted to do is, everybody can bring goats and chickens, which is great. We wanted a variety of animals like if it was the real zoo. So we can bring maras and ducks and snakes and bugs, and kids can come in and spend some time and pet these animals. What's really great about this is, like you can see, little kids, kindergarten kids can come in here. But parents, they love it. They come in with their kids and they're adorable. It's the great Instagrammable moments. The third thing we do is a meet and greet. So one thing that we do is we set up a line of tables with different animals. In every table there's a zoologist. So every kid learns different. Not everybody can sit down through a 30-minute class and pay attention. Some kids like to move and run and come back and ask questions. So a lot of these kids will go run and then come back. Hey, can I pet the snake? Sure, they'll pet the snake. And as they're petting the snake, they'll ask questions. Where does it come from? What are these little things on the mouth? Why is it licking me with its tongue? It's like, oh, well, it's not licking you, it's smelling you. And this kid, wow, can they hear me? Snakes don't have ears. Wow. They start getting curious and they start asking. Some kids have fears, right? Because they hear it from their parents. Snakes are dangerous. Wait, not every snake is dangerous. Some snakes are really cool and you should learn about it. So that's kind of a different way of learning, right? And lastly, we do a lot of virtual programs. So there's a lot of places in the US where there are no zoos. There's nothing for them to come and learn, interactive, and there's a lot of online schooling. Now this started during COVID. This is what made us survive COVID because there's no events, no nothing. And so when we have the cameras, we had everything. In fact, when we first started, right before COVID, this was not really a business, it was just kind of something fun. We went on the news as they were announcing COVID, and we were like, oh no, what do we do? Well, what if we go online? And we started doing that, and next thing you know, we started getting lots of calls from all the different schools. It's like, oh, this sounds like a really cool program, and the kids get to see it. And you would see their little faces on the screen, just like, oh, cool, this is so awesome. So getting to see that interaction that is the pleasure of the job that we do. So what are some of our milestones? When we first started, like I said, we don't do business, we're not business people. We did this for passion. We really love animals, so we wanted to be in front of kids. So as we were growing, the first thing we did was come up with a live stream. We went online. And so through this live stream, we started inviting local celebrities, politicians, business owners, kind of like a Tonight Show, but with animals, right? And yeah, I mean, we started getting exposure and talking to people, and it kind of started growing. Because of that, we worked with Visit San Antonio. Is the video working? Oh, it's running. It's moving. Oh, there you go. So CVAD Connect used to be only in Vegas. It is one of the largest events for event planners in the whole world, right? And this year was the first time that Visit San Antonio brought it to Texas, right? It was a big deal. Now, even though they had a ton of activations, right? They had like a big drone show and they had like a cowboy thing. This day, before we even set up, the place was packed. Like everybody wanted to come in. And you can see it's all adults and everybody was interacting with the animals, right? It was a big, big hit. The other things that we've done so far, our Brandon got an Addy. We did a really cool fashion shoot for Vogue. Well, it was applied to Vogue. We didn't get into Vogue, but you can see we're doing fashion shoots. We won Best of San Antonio 2023 as the coolest birthday party gift. And we also have a permanent spot on SA Live, so we're on TV all the time. The other thing is we get to work with a lot of great people. We work with all the museums in town, so we have a permanent spot every free day at the museum. We're at Six Flags. We work with Visit San Antonio, Morgan's Wonderland, Market Square, and Region 20. So Region 20 is all the schools here in San Antonio. So we got to work with a lot of schools. So what are we doing for the future? When we started this, we did not think business. We were not thinking, how are we gonna make money? We just thought, how can we get in front of more kids, right? We wanna get in front of a lot of kids. So we operate from home. Luckily, we have a really big house. And in this house, it is packed with animals everywhere. We have a bird and mammal room, we have a reptile room, we have a back door with ducks and an owl. And so we're running out of space. So the first thing we're planning is to open up our own little mini zoo. What this is gonna be something very different. We're not trying to compete with SeaWorld or the zoo. We're never gonna do that. We're thinking small Chuck E. Cheese place where I can come in, have a coffee, and get out, right? Why? Because there's so many people out there that can't have a pet because I work all day. And guess what? I need my petting time. I need to come in, have some good food, pet some animals, and get out. right? I get a lot of schools saying, hey, I want to take a class and just come to you. I have 50 kids. Well, I can't bring 50 kids. So this is the next plan. That is one of them. Now with it, obviously any store needs food and swag. So we're starting to design toys, merchandise, all kinds of stuff. Now our brand, as you can see, is very colorful. That's because we are not like other animal places. Everybody else has khaki, green, hunter, camo, right? We're not safari people. That's not who we are. We're from San Antonio. San Antonio's fiesta, colors, bright stuff. So our animals, if you know what alebrijes are, that's our animals. Spirit animals. We like to celebrate animals. That's what we do. So Fiestalado, we love Axolotl, so that's a lot of what we do. Yes, and so that kind of talks, we're not talk a lot about business because I figured you guys were going to ask me some questions. So go ahead. Yes?
What do you charge for an event if you're going to go out someplace for like 2 hours and what roughly is your?
That is a great question. So we have a package for everybody. The way that it works is if I'm a single mom and I only have $300, I can bring them to my little tiny apartment and have a tiny party. I can do that. If I'm a school and I say, I have 600 kids, I cannot do an hour per kid. I need 600. I can take over the whole gym for $1,000 an hour. So it ranges between $300 to $400 to $1,000 an hour.
How many animals you bring?
It goes from 3 to 5 to 20 some animals.
The reason I'm asking is there's some of us run businesses where we're multiple places.
Yeah.
If you were, as an example, we do a lot of pop-up markets. If you were to set up at a pop-up market as a marketing tool for the vendors, to try to just attract a totally different group of people, try to say, hey, we're out here once a month, or you come to another place once a month where you're there. What would that roughly charge? What would that cost roughly?
So great question. It depends because we get invited to a lot of free marketing, right? And so right now we have about 5 zookeepers, so we could be technically at 5 places at the same time. But for me to go do a marketing, it depends on how.
Well, just the reason I'm saying that is you would also do marketing there yourself because you would be handing out.
We do marketing at every single event. So the beauty of what we do is that we get invited to like a homeschool convention, and they say, hey, can you come here? It's going to be $400 for you to set up your table. Or I can bring the snake and come for free, right? And so I'll do that if it's a homeschool because I know those are my clients, right? But if it's like an auto show, sorry, you have to pay because that's not really my market. But I will bring the animals, and it's usually, like I said, at minimum about $400, depending on how long we're going to be there. And yeah.
So as you transition into, this is cool as hell, by the way,
Thank
like
you.
really cool.
I know.
But as you transition into your physical location with your restaurants, and like that's a really cool concept. What is that going to do for your in-person visits? So, for example, you're gonna focus on both, and then how are you going to do that logistically to have enough animals or pets in the space for the restaurant to be enjoyable for guests, but also have enough pets to do those in-person visits rather.
So yes, we definitely will get more animals, right? And we'll get more staff, but we will always be mobile, right? The only reason we won't need a physical location is for 2 reasons. We need to store more animals. And so I could either store them in a warehouse where no one can see them, or I can have some food traffic and make some money, right? Now, not all of our animals work every day, right? We have enough animals that can go out and some that can stay in. So there's always, and also like most of the time they'll do like one event and come back. It's not like they're gone all day, right? And once they work, here's the thing, we don't force our animals to do anything. If they don't want to go out, they're not gonna go, right? They'll let you know. And so luckily we have over 100 animals that if one animal doesn't want to do it, another one will, right? Yes?
How did you go from 5 schools this year to 139 schools the next year? How did you make that transition?
So before this year, we had no idea how the school system worked. No clue. So all we were doing is word of mouth. People would invite us and we would go. Then we discovered RFPs. So this year is the first year we started doing RFPs. And so that is how we got into
So with
130.
that being said, with the RFPs, did you create a point of contact at all 139 of those schools, or were you able to?
That
set
is
up
just,
with the
that is just
district?
through one program. So we have multiple RFPs going on at the same time.
Sure.
And yeah, so one RFP was for after-school programs for only Title I schools, and those get paid by the government, right? From this every school has different nonprofits that work with the school to do STEM programs, after-school programs. In this case, it's just after-school programs. So we work with KINS, we work with Learning Tree, we work with all these nonprofits that's all they're focusing is how can we help parents, instead of paying for daycare, they pay a little bit more, and that's how we do it. But yeah, it's just that one contract. So we still have a ton of more opportunities to go hit other schools. And now, just because we win that one contract for 139 schools, as you know, does not mean we're in 139 schools. It just says we just got a door open to go serve 139 schools.
Yeah, so does that, again, so go back to what you're saying, so with that 139 schools, does that mean that you can just show up to those schools and say, hey, we want to do this program, and then they say, yeah, we have the funding for it?
So the way that it works is the program will give them money, and they have 6 vendors, right? And so they get to choose which vendors they get to work with.
Okay.
The fortunate thing for us is that no one else can bring animals, and no one else has a STEM program. There's a lot of different programs, but not like ours. So typically, if the parents can afford it, or if it depends on the school, because there's some kids that cannot afford a $250 class, right?
Yeah.
And so it just depends.
Yeah, so speaking of that, what do you guys charge, and how long are your clubs, like your after-school programs? Like for instance, we do 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12, 10 weeks, and 12 weeks. What are your guys?
We do 6 week, 10 week. We have enough to do a 12 week, and we could probably even do like a lot more. And we're starting to build more programs. So just so you guys know, each class that we do has to be different. And we also have to make sure that those same kids that are in the class come back next year, right? We want them to renew. So having different animals, having different classes, having different topics or things to do in each class just helps me prolong. So for example, one of our competitors, Mad Science, right? They're a gigantic, global company. They have over 50 different programs, right? We're not quite there yet. We're working towards that. But yeah, that is the plan. Yes.
So I do have a few questions for you, just because I am a part of a nonprofit organization that hosts a rather large community event.
Yeah.
So very intrigued at what y'all guys do. So my first question being, when hosting events, what are the typical dimensions of the space once in a while requires for activations, like at least the bare minimum?
We need a 10 by 10 space.
Okay.
So we could literally just bring a little table and be right here. Or if we're outdoor, a 10 by 10 tent, and we also have a 10 by 20. So it just depends on how big you want it. Now we can take over a whole, like this whole room could be taken over. So like I said, we have a variety of sizes. It just depends. We try to, here's the thing, if you have 300 people showing up, you're not gonna want a little space, right? You want more, because we need more zookeepers, more equipment, so it just depends on how big the project is.
Okay. And then my other question being regarding logistics, how do you manage the animals on site to prevent incidents and ensure proper supervision? What guidelines or protocols in place to maintain safety for both animals and attendees? Because I know kids are,
Yes. Love that question. Our zookeepers are extremely well trained. They know exactly how to handle animals. Now we have protocols as far as how we handle the kids. Here's the thing, kids are mean. They're grabby, and they think these are toys. So our job immediately as the kid comes in is to, hey, we're gonna behave correctly. So we have different protocols as far as safety. Now the other thing is our animals are super well trained. I mean, our snakes are trained. Like nobody thinks about that, but yeah, we know how to make them not bite, right? Now also the animals that we chose are not animals that will be dangerous for anyone. So even if this snake tried to bite me, this is what a snake does. They're not gonna jump at you like in the movies. right? So our job is really to stop the fear. So a lot of what we do, besides STEM, is what we call SEL, which is social emotional learning. That means kids that have a lot of anxiety. How do we calm them down? How do we get them not to say mean things to each other? So a lot of times bringing an animal that could be scary can help them change their mind, right? What that means is, if I'm really afraid of a snake and I start talking to you as far as, hey, this animal is not really dangerous. Look, doesn't have fangs. It's not venomous. Their teeth are really tiny. So even if it tried to bite you, it's not going to. Now, most of the snakes that we have are like so sweet and so cute that most kids, once they get their mind around it, they're like, oh, this is the best thing ever, right? I'm holding a snake. This is so cool. So there's a lot of that. Now, we also follow USDA rules, and we also follow wildlife, parks and wildlife. So like, we have certain rules that we have to stand by. Now, all of our animals are, like I said, I mean, they're really well taken care of. And when they're really well taken care of, they behave great. It's like having a kid. You can have a kid that's not trained and is gonna be running all over the place, or you can have a really well-educated child, right? That's how we see our animals. They're our little babies, right?
And my last question, I know you answered it partially from the first question that someone asked about like y'all's pricing and y'all have something for everyone. But as far as like the overview of your pricing structure, is it based on the duration of the event, type of number of animals, and what type of animals? Or how does it work specifically?
So it depends on which package, right? So like, for example, our petting zoo, our basic petting zoo has the same animals, right? So it's usually a giant rabbit, some tortoises, some guinea pigs, some ducks. And the reason we pick these animals is because if we're gonna be outdoor, we need animals that are all weather, right? If it's too hot, too cold, like we cannot bring, delicate snakes when it's freezing outside, right? But we can bring a Mara, right? Or a Patagonian cavy, or some ducks, because they're cold weather. They can be in the snow and they're fine, right? The only problem is when it gets too hot, right? Now, pricing wise, like I said, it just depends on how many kids, how many animals. So we can go as small as a $400 for an hour, and we can be there for multiple hours. Now, you get discounts the longer we're there, right? And then, the bigger the program, the more animals. Like, for example, Cvent, like we went all out. That was almost $1,000 an hour, and we brought the whole team, right? But they get their bang for their buck, right? They spent $5,000, and they probably made over $1 million just in leads, right?
Okay, awesome, good to know.
Got time for one more question?
Can I hold the snake?
Yes. 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 So after this, no more questions. I can bring up the snake.
Let's do this.